are 232. The nays are 197.
Impeached. President Donald J. Trump, now the first president in history to be impeached twice. The charge, incitement of insurrection. We go to Washington to find out what happens now. Plus, the Republican congressman representing Northeast Ohio who voted to impeach. New COVID concerns. For the first time, a new variant of the coronavirus is found in Ohio. How vaccines will react to the new strain and how to keep your family safe.
Browns fans on the move. We talked to Clevelanders heading to Kansas City for this weekend's big playoff game against the Chiefs. Wait until you hear how many of them are expected in Arrowhead Stadium for Sunday's kickoff.
Sometimes I'm up till 1, 2 in the morning trying to find facilities for people to go to.
And 21 Strong, our new series profiling Northeast Ohioans going above and beyond to help their communities cope with life in a pandemic. Tonight, we kick it off with one mom who is moving mountains. What's new starts now.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to What's New. There is a lot that is new. I'm Betsy Kling here with Jay Crawford, and through the afternoon, along with the rest of the country, we have been watching the developments in the nation's capital.
Yes, we have, Betsy. Historic events taking place today on Capitol Hill, with the House of Representatives voting within the hour to once again impeach President Donald Trump.
On this vote, the ayes are 232. The nays are 197. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
So with just 7 days remaining in his presidency, Donald Trump becomes the first U.S. president to be impeached twice. While his party united behind him last time, a handful of House Republicans voted for impeachment, believing he indeed incited supporters who carried out the violent attack on the Capitol 1 week ago today. Alice Barr has been following the day's proceedings in the House and joins us now from Washington, D.C. And Alice, the vote was made official here within the hour, with at least 10 Republicans this time voting in favor of the impeachment. As I said, that was something that the Democrats did not have the last time around. As you look at the numbers, what is the big talk on Capitol Hill about today's vote?
Well, I think even just the fact that there were 10, and that's right, the final count, 10 Republicans crossing over to vote with Democrats voting against President Trump. You don't have to go back too far to remember the last impeachment of President Trump. At that time, no House Republicans were willing to go against him. So it's significant, whatever the number is. And among those 10, you have the number 3 Republican in the House, Congresswoman Liz Cheney. She put out a forceful statement holding President Trump accountable, saying that he had assembled the mob and lit the flame of the attack. So whether or not it's an overwhelming group of Republicans, hearing that kind of rhetoric is a huge shift. So now this heads over to the Senate, and that's the big question. How many senators could actually decide to vote against President Trump, to vote to convict? President Trump does not enjoy the same level of support in the Senate as he does in the House, in terms of some of his most fervent supporters are in the House. And all eyes are really on Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. He's the top Republican in the Senate. There was some reporting in the New York Times overnight that he had told associates that he believed that President Trump had committed impeachable offenses, that he was in favor of Democrats pursuing this impeachment. But today he put out a statement saying that he has not made up his mind about whether or not he will vote to convict. He did say that he will not bring the Senate back into session early to hold an impeachment trial. Right now they are in recess until Tuesday, the day before President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. And so that sets up the near certainty that there's going to be an impeachment trial of President Trump during the early days of President-elect Joe Biden's administration, and how that's all going to shake out and potentially overshadow the very large agenda that Mr. Biden wants to pursue is going to be the next phase of this, Jay.
Exactly, and constitutional scholars are at odds as to whether or not you can even impeach in the Senate after the president is no longer sitting. By the way, I wanted to make one clarification. Of those 10 Republicans voting to impeach, one of them was Anthony Gonzalez. He represents part of Northeast Ohio. Alice Barr from Washington. Alice, thank you so much.
Well, in the course of the proceedings today, President Trump released a statement this afternoon through his press office. Representative Jim Jordan from Ohio read it on the House floor during the events today. It said, in light of reports of more demonstrations, I urge that there must be no violence, no lawbreaking, and no vandalism of any kind. That is not what I stand for, and it is not what America stands for. I call on all Americans to help ease tensions and calm tempers. Thank you. End quote.
All right, recapping the story of the day, the House voting to impeach President Donald Trump, but Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell not willing to ask the Senate to reconvene so they can have that Senate trial while he is still a sitting president. That means Donald Trump will fill out the last 7 days of his term. WKYC will continue to stay on top of this developing story, and we'll bring you updates on air and our website, also the WKYC app.
Well, turning now to the pandemic, and new today, a variant of the coronavirus is in Ohio. Researchers at Ohio State University's Wexner Medical Center have found a new mutation of the virus in patients in Columbus. Obviously, this has a lot of people's attention around the state today. And to break it down for us, our senior health correspondent, Monica Robbins, joins us. Monica, I got to tell you, when I saw that, I was like, uh-oh, here we go.
Well, let me make one thing clear, Bets. Viruses mutate. That is normal. It's nothing to be afraid of right now. It's what they do because their sole purpose is to find a host, replicate, and make more virus and move on. Now, what's unique about COVID-19 is how fast it's mutating and how quickly it's developing these new variants. Some researchers estimate it's changing slightly about twice a month. That's pretty significant and not what we typically see. However, it does not appear that the virus is becoming more deadly like we saw when it first appeared. But what we are seeing is that it is becoming far more contagious. But of course, the big question is, will the vaccine still work?
We're not ready to overreact. We want to make sure that we study these in the lab, that we get really good data, and that so far we know that our vaccines are very likely effective against this variant as well. But it's important that we keep our eye on these.
Now, Ohio State researchers actually discovered two variants of COVID, both of which they believed were developed here in the U.S., and one that became the dominant strain in Columbus over a 3-week period from late December to early January. Now, even though some research suggests that the virus is not as deadly, it doesn't mean it's not making people sick enough to go to the hospital. And the fact that it is more contagious is definitely worrisome, which means we really need to follow those mandates. Mask up, back up, and vax up when it's your turn, Betsy.
I like that. Definitely a quick way to put it. Now, I know with all of this, story that's been unfolding over the last year, it's kind of like we all have had to take a deep dive, a crash course, if you will, in biology. So if we go down into cellular biology and whatnot, can you please explain to us the difference between a strain, a variant, and a mutation?
All right, here's science class for you. I actually drew a picture for you, Bets. COVID-19, of course, comes from the coronavirus family. That includes SARS and MERS and also the common cold. Now, each of those viruses is considered a strain of the coronavirus family. So then what happens, it starts to mutate. So look, see, here's COVID-19, and then you have all these little offshoots. Those are what are referred to as variants. So each of these are mutations. They become variants, but it's all part of one big family. There you go. Hope that makes sense.
Oh my gosh. Biology made simple. Thank you so much, Monica Robbins. We appreciate it. And we're going to be talking to you a little bit more coming up in the next half hour about some exciting 2021 medical prospects. We look forward to that. Jay?
Betsy, Monica, a jack of all trades, not just a medical expert, but also a terrific graphic artist. That was very easy to follow and well done. All right, now, while yesterday saw a single high in one day of 4,300 Americans die of the coronavirus, most Ohioans are still waiting to get that vaccine. Today, we reached out to the state to see exactly how much of our vaccine supply has been administered. Just over 338,000 of the 459,000 vaccines were given. That means more than 70% is gone, but that leaves close to 30% of our state's vaccines in freezers and not in Ohioans' arms. We asked if the rest of the supply is being held for second doses. The state did not answer that question. This is a local health agencies are starting to relay information to those who are next in line to get the vaccine. It's part of the state's plan to get more people vaccinated and do it in a hurry. Today, Amani Abraham shares how the rollout from the Summit County Health Department will go.
We can get through this.
The message from Summit County today was a breakdown of where and how the vaccine will be distributed. The focus is on the next stage of the vaccine rollout, which begins next week for those 80 years and older.
The total allocation for Summit County for 1B is 5,750 doses of vaccine. This allocation will be split among 11 providers of over 30 locations throughout the county.
It's the first batch of doses for the start of Phase 1B, with more expected to come.
We really want to target that 80 and older group and get them in here and get it started.
On Thursday, Ohio will release a list of providers online at coronavirus.ohio.gov. Each provider will have different guidelines related to how to schedule appointments. On the Summit County Health Department's website, they've already listed pharmacies that will be receiving small quantities of the vaccine. You don't have to be a Summit County resident to receive the vaccine, but you will have to show proof of age. People can sign up to receive updated information on the vaccine through the Summit County Health Department's website, but in order to get the vaccine, individuals will have to call providers to schedule appointments. Health officials say with a limited supply, the vaccination process is expected to take some time. Amani Abraham, 3 News.
All right, Amani, thank you very much. Now on to the number of COVID cases here in the Buckeye State. 6,701 new cases were reported overnight. It's 1,200 fewer than yesterday and within the range of daily cases that we've seen within the last week.
Betsy, here's a look at some of our other key data points. Positivity rate up a bit. It's now at 15.8%. Hospitalizations, though, continue to fall. 7th time in 8 days that they have gone down. They're down 87 from yesterday, and now we have fewer than 4,000 COVID-19 patients in Ohio hospitals. Deaths also down from 100 yesterday to 79 today. By the way, I checked today because we haven't given this number in a while, but still 94% of all COVID-19 related deaths in the state of Ohio have been over 70 years of age. Next on What's New, the pandemic has left many Americans looking not just for work, but in some cases, a new line of work. Danielle Serino with advice for everyone in the Your New Job search. Plus, Matt Wentz standing by to tell us what's going on outside on this hump day. Hey, Matt, that's not a bad-looking sunset.
Well, hey, Jay, I'll tell you what, it's looking great. In fact, we've seen a couple sundogs out there as well. It's that little spot you see well to the right or the left of the sun. And yeah, we're just talking sunshine in the forecast. You know, Monica inspired me with her drawing to tell you what the forecast is. I don't know if you could see that, but that's where we're heading this weekend. We'll take you through it. We'll talk about our snow chances coming up.
It's time now for the segment we call Your New Job. And you know, LinkedIn is a huge networking site that a lot of people use to stay connected and look for a job. But since there are so many different features, tonight our consumer investigator, Danielle Serino, is sharing tips for success, including why you should not post your full resume.
From picking a new photo to creating a stronger headline, job coach Nancy Karras helped this former real estate executive enhance his LinkedIn profile so he could link up with a new job.
There's so many different things you can do just to present who you are and give people a little taste of your expertise.
That includes using the skills section. It's at the top of employers' searches.
You want to make sure that all relevant skills are checked off. And remember, they may be skills that aren't relevant to real estate specifically, but skills you can pivot and use anywhere in your career. So list them all.
LinkedIn says members with 5 or more skills are contacted up to 33 times more. And to really shine, rack up recommendations from your contacts. Experts say the best way to get them is to give them.
It's huge because people say, I worked with Danielle. She was really brilliant. And the way that she thought through her projects, you know, that kind of stuff. Use that opportunity to get people who are really important.
Another way to show employers who's important in your world, follow leaders in your field and join groups, which shows up under your activities. It also helps increase your connections.
And then I reach out to people who are in industries that I'm interested in. And I say, hey, you know, I looked at your profile and you have a really great background. I had a few questions about your industry. I'd love to be one of your contacts. If you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out to me also.
But just because more than 3/4 of recruiters use LinkedIn to find candidates, don't post your resume in full.
So I've been trying to figure out what to do with my LinkedIn account because you can't really show your resume highlighting different directions.
And Sheila Doris has an impressive resume, which she posted as a PDF on her profile. Career coach Chris McGuigan, who agreed to work with Sheila, said, that's giving away too much.
If I were a recruiter, I could come to your profile, pull down that resume, and make a decision about whether or not I want to talk to you without ever notifying you of such.
LinkedIn should be more like the coming attractions for a movie.
And just making sure you have powerful content embedded in the actual profile, you give yourself more control over the process, because then as a recruiter, someone would have to reach out and talk to you directly if they wanted to see that next level of information.
And here's another interesting tip. Before updating your profile, adjust your security settings so your connections aren't notified every time you make a change. For more tips, head to our website. I'm Danielle Serino, 3 News.
Danielle, thanks. All of that is very, very good advice. Matt's here for weather. So, Matt, I thought about your weather word, and I came back to confidence, and here's why. I was listening to the Browns with their weekly news conference availability today, and I have to say, while the Steelers last week and even the Chiefs this week are on the overly confident side, I like the Browns' approach. Confident, but not overly confident. So confidence is your word. Do with it what you will.
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. I'd rather be on our side of things than theirs. You know, we've got nothing to lose, literally. But for sure, we'll get that in there. You know, Jay, it was obviously mild today with the breeze around. But did you know today, tomorrow, and Friday are actually our coldest average high temperatures of the year? So this is really the coldest we get, climatologically speaking, right? But not today. Today was pretty darn nice. We actually broke out that sunshine. Look at these temperatures right now. 48 downtown right now. The rest of us generally in the 40s, couple upper 30s out there. But it's amazing what some sunshine and a south breeze will do this time of year. So Mother Nature says not so fast, climatologically speaking, because we've got a pretty nice warm-up out ahead of the system. There is a weak wave off towards the west, though. We're going to watch this float in here tonight. This is actually going to kick up some showers, even some snowflakes tonight across a portion of the viewing area. You can see that little wave of energy here. We've been watching these over the last couple days. That'll be overnight. Here's our big system we've been tracking for about a week now. boy, is it causing all sorts of problems out west. They even had some sleet down in Alabama and Mississippi this morning. But for us, we're going to keep an eye on this system. As it continues to track into the southern plains, that low will deepen. This is a huge wind maker. They've got high wind warnings. Look at the real estate on this across the central and northern plains. It'll produce some snow. I wouldn't be surprised if they had some blizzard warnings before this is all out. Not due to the amount of snowfall falling, but because of visibility and the wind combined with that snow. For us, well, how does it impact us? We're still expecting the same, that rain to snow on Friday. Tomorrow, what you'll notice with your National Design forecast is more of the same like we had today. A pretty nice day tomorrow. We've got to get a little rain and snow through the area tonight with temperatures back into the 30s, but tomorrow we're going to be pretty dry, and I'm confident that we will see some sunshine as we go throughout the afternoon as well. That's right. I know that bell was a little late. That's okay. You can see the sunshine tomorrow. Should have a fairly similar day with temperatures well into the 40s. And here comes our system on Friday that will start as some rain and change over to some rain and snow. Look at the wind. I put the darker colors on here. That is the amount of wind with this system. For us, we're not going to see much wind out of this. The low pressure will ramp up off towards our west. Here's our rain arriving on Friday. That will quickly mix and change over to some wet snow. It's not going to be a clean mix. As we're going into your Friday night, Saturday, that's when it becomes all snow. And you can see we're just dealing with snow showers around here on Saturday. I think we see a few peaks of sun, perhaps some heavier bursts of snow as well. And then a pretty good shot at some area-wide light snow on Sunday as another system comes through. And that's really going to set up a very active pattern from there. Your Union Home Mortgage 7-day forecast, 45 tomorrow with some sun peaks, rain to snow mix Friday. Here's your snow Saturday, Sunday. And look at this, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, in fact, all the way into Thursday, it looks like we could have just some scattered snows. Jay, no big snows out of this, but it's going to be a pretty nice hit every day or so, and it could add up by the time we're around here next week.
All right, very good. I'll quickly explain the delayed bell. Our director, Al, wasn't sure because you said confident, not confidence, but he did glance over at our... Count. He glanced over our judges, and they shook their head. That counts, so you got the bell, and you're all good.
I'm going to pay those interns extra when I see them again, for sure.
Matt, we'll see you in the next half hour.
All right, still to come for us, everybody. We know moms can, at times, not hide our pride when it comes to our children's accomplishments. And just wait until you see this mama's excitement when her son reaches a lifelong dream. We'll be right back. Well, it's time now for our Worth the Watch. You know, as parents, we get so excited with our kids' milestones. You know, first they smile, then they roll over and sit up and start walking, and then they go potty, and we're just very excited. But then you fast forward suddenly, and they're adults, and that doesn't mean that our pride is any less. As a matter of fact, this mom's reaction to her son passing the bar exam is priceless. Oh, yes. I mean, that is such a hard thing to do. Congratulations to him, and congratulations to that mama, because she definitely played a big role in that, too.
Yeah, Betsy, I can tell you, I know yours are younger, mine are adults, and I still feel the same way. When something good happens for either of my children, I react just like they did the first day I pushed them off on the bicycle, and they kept going. It's still exciting, every hurdle they clear. Fun. Yeah. Okay, coming up in the second half hour of What's New, 4 days from right now, our Browns will be heading into the fourth quarter of their playoff game with the Kansas City Chiefs. Brandon Simmons talks to Browns fans who plan on making the trip to Kansas City. Also ahead, 3 News begins our 21 Strong series. We're shining a spotlight on those making a tangible difference in Northeast Ohio, and no better way to kick off the series than highlighting a woman whose life's work is to help families struggling with addiction. It's a great story. And Monica Robbins will be along to tell us all about the medical changes and advancements in medicine that we need to know about for 2021, and they are many.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
Well, we do have breaking news to tell everyone here at the bottom of the hour as What's New continues. The U.S. House has voted to impeach President Trump for incitement of insurrection. Jay, thanks so much for hanging out with us here again at the bottom of the hour, as I said. And I got to tell you, folks, it was a very historic day in our country. The vote, 232 for, 197 against, with 10 Republicans crossing the aisle and voting for impeachment. That means the impeachment will now move to the Senate for a trial. This is the second time President Trump has been impeached, and this happened today, just a week after he gave a speech inciting a mob of his supporters to storm the U.S. Capitol. And despite what happened in the House today, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is now rejecting a Democratic attempt to quickly call the chamber into emergency session for an impeachment trial of the president. That decision all but assures those proceedings won't occur until after Trump leaves office and Joe Biden is president. And also today, as members debated impeaching him on the House floor, President Trump released a statement saying he opposes violence. The president said, quote, "In light of reports of more demonstrations, I urge that there must be no violence, no lawbreaking, and no vandalism of any kind." Meantime, security is exceptionally tight at the Capitol, beefed up by hundreds of armed National Guard troops. Jay?
We'll have much more on this story coming up next on What Matters Most at 6. Well, landing a ticket to this Sunday's Browns game is going to cost you big time, as stadium capacity is, of course, like everything else, limited, and playoff games are always hot tickets to begin with. But that's not stopping some Browns fans from making the trip from the Cleveland area all the way to Kansas City. In fact, Brandon Simmons spoke to one fan who is driving down for the weekend.
After a stellar win over the Steelers this past weekend, how could you not want to make the trip to Kansas City to see if this run can continue?
And when there was an opportunity to go play the Super Bowl champs in their house to a city I've never been to, it happened pretty early Monday morning.
Eric Wingrennick decided to make the trip to Missouri with family and friends before ticket prices went through the roof. Vivid Seats says the cheapest ticket available right now is $440. But for pairs of tickets, you could easily pay over $800 each. With capacity limited at Arrowhead Stadium, you may be surprised to hear that 48% of fans are expected to be Browns fans, something the Chiefs are preparing for.
When you start with a divisional game with 17,000 tickets, you're going to have an accelerated market.
Kansas City Browns backers are excited to hear the cavalry is on the way.
I feel like I'm a ticket broker and a travel agent. I'm getting pounded with this stuff. But, yeah, there's a lot of people that want to go.
Like Cleveland, Kansas City is feeling the effects of COVID-19 with restrictions on large parties, although tailgating is allowed in small groups.
They call me to ask me what to do in Kansas City, and it's, you're limited. It's just like Cleveland. I mean, bars are closing at 10, and, I don't even know what places are open as far as restaurants and that type of stuff.
But that's not going to stop Browns fans from getting a chance to see history in the making.
Kansas City's thinking, who are the Browns? No big deal.
The odds are stacked against us. We're playing the Super Bowl champs, Patrick Mahomes, blah, blah, blah. But I think we're coming in to shock the world.
Blah, blah, blah. That's my favorite part. Now, in case you're wondering, a drive to Kansas City is about a 12-hour trip, a little more, in fact. And Eric said they're going to probably split that trip up and make it into a 2-day trip, stopping to sleep somewhere in the middle, Jay. He said it's all worth it, though, because this team this year has played amazingly, and they deserve to see some fans wearing orange in those seats.
Man, do they ever. So here's the irony of this. COVID-19 has dealt the Browns probably the worst hand of any team in the NFL, with the exception of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, as it comes the biggest time of the year, the biggest game of the year, everybody is going to be back and healthy. And normally, the toughest place to play in all of the NFL is Kansas City, and it's going to be a split house between Browns and Chiefs fans on Sunday. I'm liking our chances more and more. Brandon, thank you very much.
Yeah, me too.
Betsy?
Well, it is Wellness Wednesday, and we're going to be looking at what's new in medical and health news from 2021, from high-tech heart devices, virtual appointments, and now you have the right to know the cost of a procedure before you get it. Sounds very common sense to me. Anyway, Monica Robbins joins us once again, our senior health correspondent. Monica, last half hour you gave us a little biology lesson. You're kind of changing over to the tech sector now, but it kind of sounds like there's a little bit of a silver lining that's been coming out of 2020 with all this.
Yeah, we learned a lot. So the pandemic caused warp speed innovations regarding treatments for COVID-19, but it also changed the way we do things. And a year ago, before the pandemic even began, I did a story on how telehealth was starting to gain traction. Then it exploded when it was the only way we could get face-to-face visits with our doctors because of the lockdown. You can expect this faster, convenient, and often cheaper way of connecting with your doctor to stick around. It won't replace those in-person visits in many cases, but for the basic checkup, quick question about a cough or a rash, or a follow-up visit that doesn't require hands-on care, this will be the new standard of care in many medical practices. And if you're not familiar with how to use it, talk to your provider for some guidance. Now, in the tech field, one of the Cleveland Clinic's list of top 10 medical innovations this year, a Bluetooth-enabled pacemaker and defibrillator device. It gives patients the freedom of doing what they want to do while their smartphone keeps tabs on their pacemaker's data and relays that to their physician. Now, typically, remote monitoring requires a bedside device, and that was often confusing for patients to use. And this one, believe it or not, is much easier, and it monitors on the go. Now, if you're like me, have you ever received a surprise medical bill? Well, if so, you are certainly not alone, but now there is something you can do to prevent it from happening again. On January 1st, a new federal law went into effect that requires hospitals to provide you with the exact cost of a procedure you may need. This is not an estimate. They need to include the facility fees and other incidentals, but you have to ask for it. They also must provide you with the price your insurance company negotiated, so you'll have the option to shop around or bargain.
And so for the first time ever, we patients can shop for the best quality of care at the lowest possible price and be assured that we have the right to know before we go to be able to lower our costs of both health care and eventually our health coverage as well. This is a huge win.
And there is much more to this new legislation. The bulk of it actually doesn't even go into effect until 2022. That will address those air ambulance billings and other issues. And while the cost of health care, is still going to surprise you, you will eventually be protected against those unexpected bills from out-of-work networks. Meanwhile, for now, do not hesitate to ask for a detailed price before your procedure, and especially if you think you might be able to get a better deal, Bets.
How about that? Comparison shopping on surgeries and whatnot. Boy, oh boy, be interesting to see if folks take their own Band-Aids to the hospital so they don't have to pay $7 for one or whatever it has been in the past. So certainly good news. Thank you, Monica. Really appreciate that info.
Sure.
Yeah, it's great news. What else do we buy without knowing the price tag of? Nothing. So next on What's New, get used to hearing the phrase 21 Strong. That's our campaign here at 3 News to highlight stories about people we should all know that are making a big difference in Cleveland in 2021. Plus, for today's Clicking in Cleveland, Stephanie drills down on the hilarious story of a Browns player introducing himself to Baker Mayfield just hours before blocking for him in a playoff game. It's awesome, and it's coming up.
Hello, Al. I am doing all right. How are you today? Good. So, today, yes, I am telling you the story of Blake Hans, formerly known as a guy named Blake, but he has a whole backstory. Okay, great. Why is it? Cool.
Sure, mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
All right, time now to get another check on the forecast as things are kind of getting a little dark outside once again. But at least we got to see some sunshine today, Matt, and that definitely perked people's spirits up, as well as the temperatures. A little mercury movement today.
Yeah, Betsy, that mercury moved today. Boy, we were in the mid, even upper 40s in spots, especially Cleveland today, officially topping out in the upper 40s. It was nice. It was like a heat wave. We had our windows open for about 5 minutes and realized it was a little too cold. I want to show you this picture, though. This came in social media. This is from Jay Ullman of the Sundogs. I don't know if you've heard of Sundogs or not, Northeast Ohio, but this is pretty common around here. You can see that little spot there, usually about 22 degrees up in the sky. Sometimes you'll get one on the other side. But this is when the sunlight refracts through ice crystals that are between you and the sun. And these ice crystals that you can see tie in pretty nicely to our satellite. As we look west towards the sun, you can see, yeah, we've got some virga. This is precipitation that's falling through the sky, likely evaporating before it hits the ground, but a lot of cirrus clouds here with those hexagonal ice crystals coming on in. So what does this mean for our forecast tonight? Well, I do think we see a little rain and snow develop. It's a weak little wave out ahead of our bigger system off towards the west, but this will slide through tonight, perhaps some rain, snow. Here's our big system out towards the west. Seattle is extremely happy. They have sunshine today for the first time. They've had 20% of their yearly rainfall so far. They've had over 7 inches of rain so far this month. It's been nasty for them out in the Pacific Northwest. But this system is going to translate east. You can see as we go hour by hour with your National Design Mart forecast. Yeah, some rain and wet snow perhaps tonight. It will be brief. Not expecting anything to accumulate. Temperatures will be right in the low 30s tonight. Tomorrow, I think a day very similar to today. It'll be breezy. We'll likely get some waves of sunshine with those intervals of clouds. Temperatures should respond pretty nicely, making their way into the 40s. And then Friday, that's when that big system starts to move in. We'll have some rain and snow mix changing over to snow later in the day. This system's a wind maker. The big view of it, very, very strong winds on the west side. For us, though, it's not going to get too windy with this. We will see that rain develop on the onset Friday, and as that cold air wraps in, we change over to kind of a sloppy rain, snow, eventually snow on Saturday. Not a lot of accumulation with this, but we'll have to watch. Some of these could produce some heavier rates at times Saturday. Sunday, a pretty decent system sets up as well, and then I'll eventually head on out. And yep, we bring in another system on Monday and Tuesday. Your Union Home Mortgage 7-day forecast. Here's the temperature fall on into the weekend. Nothing bitterly cold, but 30s with snow pretty much every day. There's at least going to be a chance all the way through the middle half of next week. Jay, have you ever heard of sundogs?
You know, not until about 3 minutes ago, but now I know that it's actually a little bit of sunlight refracting at about 22 degrees southwest of where the sun is.
You have your degree.
I pay attention, Matt. I try. All right, right now it is time to see what is clicking in Cleveland, and for that we bring in our digital anchor, Stephanie Haney. Stephanie, you have a story that I just love about how tough things have been for the Browns over the last couple of weeks or so. It's great.
It has been wild, Jay. It's also been tough, though, for the college bar scene. And Barstool Sports has come through for that space in Kent in a big way. Mike Beater, the owner of Water Street Tavern in Kent, is getting $20 grand a month from the Barstool Fund for the rest of the pandemic to keep the lights on. And it couldn't go to a more deserving small business owner. Beater has been paying his staff $12 an hour plus whatever tips they can make throughout the entire pandemic. Water Street Tavern has been a Kent staple for 20 years, and Beater says this will make sure it's there for a long time to come. Submissions are still open to that fund, by the way, so to apply, we have that linked on WKYC.com. All right, here's that story. If you're a Browns fan, you have heard of a guy named Blake. So let's get you caught up on that backstory. Here's Blake Hance. He's a guard who signed with the Browns on January 2nd from the New York Jets practice squad, who Baker Mayfield now famously referred to as a guy named Blake. After his major role in the Browns' playoff win over Pittsburgh on Sunday, on the same day he met Baker, Blake had to step up with Joel Bitonio on the COVID list and Michael Dunn leaving the game with an injury. He's so new. During interviews on Tuesday, Jarvis Landry still didn't know his name, and our head coach, also out with COVID, hasn't met him yet. And oh, by the way, his birthday was Monday. Happy birthday, Blake. 8 days on the team. He's already a sports legend, only in Cleveland, Jay. And also, here's more good news for you. The Browns have activated cornerbacks Denzel Ward and Kevin Johnson from the COVID list today, just in time.
Yep, we'll need to be full strength Sunday to beat the Chiefs. Stephanie, love that story. Thank you very much. Bets?
Good news for Sunday. Well, next for us here on What's New, we are launching a new series highlighting incredibly strong Northeast Ohioans. We're going to share the story of a woman going above and beyond to help those who've been struggling with addiction. Then, COVID has ruined a lot of birthday celebrations. How police made this Akron boy's day. And now it's pop quiz time. What year was the first Air Jordan sneaker designed? 1980, 1985, or 1990? We are kicking it old school, and we'll have the answer when we come back.
Yes, I can.
Where are you comfortable?
I can go either direction.
Both feet up?
Yeah. No.
Yep, gotcha. Hold on, let me come around. Okay.
All right, what was the year the first Air Jordan sneakers, Air Jordans 1s, were designed? For Michael Jordan, it was 1985. Yes, that was a big year. It's the year that we found out men were just as obsessed with shoes as women. Jay?
Yeah, you're right. Everybody I knew had at least one pair. They are the people and powerful forces in Northeast Ohio, helping others through the challenging times of the last year. I have the honor of kicking off 3 News' new weekly series. It's called 21 Strong, and we do it with the story of Janelle Lanning Unger. After her own son battled addiction, this mom stops at nothing to help others going through the same struggle. She is 21 Strong.
I am a mother with a child that has struggled with addiction.
Janelle Lanning Unger wants you to know she is just like many of us. Addiction took hold of someone she loves, sending her family to the depths this mother cannot and will not forget.
I remember the very first time I tried to find somewhere to get help, and there wasn't any. And the stigma was so bad, it was embarrassing to talk about.
That experience changed the course of her life. And today, her heart is in recovery.
Sometimes I'm up till 1, 2 in the morning trying to find facilities for people to go to.
Janelle is a lifeline to countless families, not unlike her own.
The amounts of people that we have lost in the last couple of years. Like, I would go to 4, 5, 6 funerals a month. And these are people that you've invested in.
Janelle's involvement started 14 years ago with Lake County Jail Ministry. The vast majority of inmates there for drug-related offenses.
There was a point in time where they weren't addicts. They were, somebody's daughter, there's somebody's wife.
Her mentoring now touches those in all stages of addiction and recovery. From staging parades to raising awareness and to celebrating sobriety. To organizations like Hope Over Heroin and Friends of Recovery Northeast Ohio, where she showed us her latest labor of love, a next step recovery home for women.
This room right here is where the dining area is.
She has helped us as a ministry, together as a team, to move Friends of Recovery forward, to purchase not 1 home, but now we are operating 3 homes.
How much is that appreciated by some of these families that don't know how the game works and how the system is played? What is their reaction to your help?
I've been that mom on the other end when somebody helped me early on, and I will never, ever forget. It's like for the first time you can breathe.
Though right now there is little time for Janelle to take a breath. The pandemic has made the addiction crisis even worse.
My phone goes off all the time. The isolation is absolutely the worst thing that can happen to somebody who is struggling with addiction.
But the pandemic hasn't changed Janelle. For those that call, she will always be there, embodying strength and tenacity even in dark times. Her message is unwavering and a call to action from this 21 Strong warrior. Have hope, share hope. We can all make a difference.
A lot of people don't think that they have anything to offer, and I promise you, everybody has something to offer.
Friends of Recovery Northeast Ohio is working on another home. It'll be their 3rd. Volunteers are restoring the once abandoned structure and turning it into a next step recovery home for women and their children. Sort of a landing place, Betsy, for them to get footing and make it through their tough challenges. It's amazing. Word from Janelle today, who, by the way, graduated high school with my wife. We went to dinner with her and her husband about a year ago. This is her life's work, her passion. After this story initially ran last night in the 11 o'clock news here at 3 News, her phone hasn't stopped ringing, both with people, Betsy, wanting to help and also families who need it. And Janelle will always be there for them. It's amazing.
Such an important resource, and God bless her, because, man, a lot of people really need her.
Yeah, especially now. And Betsy, all of us here at 3 News will be highlighting someone in the community that we think is going above and beyond to help others during the pandemic. 21 Strong.
And there are so many who have been doing just that. Well, after the break, we're going to tell you about a little boy's birthday that was different because of COVID, as local police stepped in to make sure he felt special. Then coming up on What Matters Most at 6, we have exclusive news breaking right now why the FBI filed subpoenas against one Cleveland City Council member, an aide, and a former city employee. Again, that's coming up at 6.
Okay, I am talking about colleges, Kent State University rolling out new COVID protocols. Every school has them. You got to go online to get more info.
Hey, mic check, Monica. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, hello, hello.
I do, Joe. Yeah, this is Mark. So this FBI investigation centers on one person, largely Ken Johnson. Got it?
At first, the Cleveland Rams.
Oh, a lot of people know that.
That's amazing.
I only know that because my dad was an old timer.
Right.
He told me of all the stories. But
Testing 1, 2. Hi, Al. Good evening. I'm Russ Mitchell. Laura's off tonight.
Okay, mic check. Now that I'm plugged in, you can hear me talk about Kent State University and the new COVID protocols. Thanks. Okay,
Surprise! Look! Wow, look at all these police officers!
Okay, birthday parades just never get old. The Akron Police Department helped celebrate a young boy's birthday this weekend. They drove by Matthew's house with their sirens blaring. Hopefully somebody told the neighbors about it. Police led friends and family down the street. Happy 7th birthday, Matthew. Good stuff.
Indeed. And that ends our time for today. Back tomorrow at 5. What matters most with Russ starts right now.